Okay. Nice to meet you. I'm Gabriela. I'm from Poland.
Hey, nice to meet you. I'm Patricio.
Hello, I'm Justina.
Yeah.
2004. So long time.
2004. Okay. Where are you from?
Poland.
From Poland. Argentina. I'm from Bangladesh.
Okay, great. Very different ends of the world.
Yeah.
I just feel so happy to see all of you here, and thank you, really thanks to all of you for coming all the way and for also brainstorming us about where SPURS should be heading after 50 years operation. It's one of the leading mid-career programs around the world, but we don't want to sit in our laurels. We want to make it better, and so we need all the help from our alumni who are real asset, because you have seen the place, you know what works, what doesn't work.
So excited to see everybody. So these faces I forget, of course.
Some of them from last century.
But I wasn't here when Om was here.
I was here in 1970-71, 47 years ago. But never imagined that I would be back here as a SPURS fellow on 50th year anniversary.
And fellows, can you please stand up and just say where you are from? Okay, quickly, Aparna.
I'm Aparna Das from India.
Okay.
I'm Jesús Monreal from Mexico.
I am BK Markaful Islam from Bangladesh.
I'm David Luna from Colombia.
I'm Juan from China.
Isla.
Ijlal Misbah from Sudan. I'm Kakun from Bahrain. Chinara from Kyrgyzstan. Ajara Sikse from Gambia.
Another from in between China and Germany.
Veronica Palman from Uruguay.
I'm Joaquín Pérez Martín from Argentina.
Well, for me, absolutely the best year of my life.
Definitely the program was a really good platform to just help your dreams come true.
And certainly SPURS being a non-degree program gives that flexibility for mid-career professionals to come and enjoy the year that they're here.
I applied for the program almost 10 years ago, and at the beginning I was afraid because it was very difficult to me. But after my 1 year at MIT, I understand that this was one of the most important decisions that I took in my life.
What better evidence of success than the fact that 50 years later you all showed up, you came back, despite the Cambridge weather and despite all the others. I have no doubt that 50 years from now, there will be another SPURS party, twice as big, and I hope that many of you will be here to celebrate that milestone too. By the way, we are working on a drug here at MIT to extend life. It's by far the most funded research project. So, with this promise in mind, I welcome you back to MIT. I declare the festivities open, and let the next 50 years begin.
I want to thank you again for traveling all the way from different parts of the world and make this 50th anniversary a special moment to cherish. And we gathered this morning to celebrate that SPURS has provided the spatial and organizational setting for 700 fellows over the last 50 years to develop deep bonds of friendship, not only with Americans, but also with the colleagues from around the world, creating the kind of human bond that has made our alums to return to MIT, to Cambridge, and to the US for a reunion of shared memories. 50 years ago, Professor Lloyd Rodwin had the inclination that a program for mid-career urban practitioners from around the world will be a worthwhile learning experiment, which was supported initially by the Ford Foundation.
So it was quite a challenge to me to come in the new world. It was completely different times. My country was different. It was Yugoslavia, and I'm in the same city in fourth country in sequel now in Serbia. So coming here and meeting people from, it was I think about 15 or 16 of us, I don't remember how many. It was quite an experience to me. After 2 years I prepared a paper which was on the city assembly, and it became a kind of planning policy for Serbia in general.
Before coming here, I didn't know how flexible the program was going to be. It was only when I arrived here and met with John Harris, who was my supervisor, that said, you have to find. You have to select the courses that you want to take. You have to decide what you want to write on. We are not going to tell you what to do.
I was already in a hurry, trying to learn and do as much as I can. So this was the beauty of the program. Particularly Professor Rodwin's was a big driving force for us. He gave a lot of directions and advice. This is what I remember all the professors, like Lisa Pitti, Geckenheimer, Alan Polinsky, Alan Strout.
All of the professors, certainly Professor Rodwin and Professor Geckenheimer, a very, very important time in which we were able to look at planning from a macro perspective and also put it within the context of each of our country situation.
Then, because the SPURS program has to do with leadership and people from all over the world, it also gave me a wider view. And at that moment, I decided to take some courses in regional economics and international economics, so that when I went back to Colombia to practice, I continued with my urban planning, but I also had this additional, more international view.
What I did in Brazil before was urban planning, and I was involved with water and sanitation. I was a university professor, which gave me the background for Humphrey to select. And when I went back to Brazil, I thought I was going to go back to my previous works, but I had a fantastic offer to work for a company that made coffee processing machinery. Since I went to work with coffee, at the beginning I didn't see much value in my SPURS background because I was doing something totally different. And that was a huge mistake, because what I learned working with coffee machinery and then coffee production and so on and so forth is that a lot of what I had learned here in terms of negotiation, in terms of sociology, anthropology, bargaining, and so on and so forth, that really is what changed my life.
The activities are endless. The amount of programs or courses that you can take both here and Harvard. I didn't know I could take courses at Harvard as well. So you are like a child in a candy store. You don't know what to pick. You have a bunch of friends, colleagues coming from all over the world with the most interesting and amazing projects. People from Russia, from Turkey, from Angola, from China.
This is a unique moment of life. You have MIT helping you to improve your knowledge. It helped a lot for myself and also for government, because we started a brand new program for housing using local material.
I think my first cultural shock was immediately I landed in here. I was almost like shedding tears, because looking at the difference in development, and then I was asking, but why?
And my family raised a question, why you need to go to institution? You just finished your bachelor degree from university, saying, why you need to go to an institution? I couldn't explain to them what does it mean, institution here at MIT. And that was the first challenge. The second challenge was to pronounce the state name. So they give me the address of 77. I kept trying mash. Okay, so it took me really a while to pronounce the name of the road or the avenue.
If you ask me what is the most important memory I have of this place, I would say it's the Mass Avenue, the main entrance. So when people flow, walking up and enter the building, you can feel the energy, right? The energy and excitement. So people are inspired when you are in this place.
First thing I did when I came here, I took a picture with the famous 77 Mass Avenue. And from then, I start, every time I came to Boston, I took a picture. I take it when I get married with my wife, then when we have our first baby, and so on. And this outstanding dome. When I came to MIT, in my first week, I have what can I call it, an excellent experience with some of my professors. From those lessons, really I draw my new roadmap in my life. The first lesson was with Karen Blonsky, how you trust yourself. And the second lesson was with Gary Hack, how you believe in yourself. And with Bish Senyal, how you give people second chance.
That's so long ago. One trivia I can share actually is that every week there is a special lecture and free lunch for all the fellows. And one of those lecture hours, it was Professor Samuelson of economics. And imagine me, coming from the village, coming from the province, and taking high school and reading the textbook of economics textbook by Paul Samuelson, and then you realize that you are in front of this guy. It was really, it was an
awesome.
It was really awesome.
Yeah.
I got starstruck.
One thing I cannot forget, my first few days at MIT was, remember it was the start of the Star Wars program of President Reagan at the time. So I was wandering around, like acclimatizing myself, and suddenly you come across a soldier holding his gun and say, this is off limits. And said, oh, why? So I came
a
back.
Real soldier, not a
Real
Star Wars
soldier, because because they were then developing the Star Wars program.
We had paid exposure to go to UN Habitat meetings. We got to meet some of the top idea makers. And so in a short amount of time, in 1 year, as a professional, we were able to meet other top professionals, something that I wouldn't have done coming from the islands of the Philippines.
SPURS was very important because I designed the NGO here. I thought about what was the purpose of the NGO, the way to make programs, how to create power changes, structural changes in Colombia. And it was very beautiful because, in fact, we were sharing with a group of colleagues, in particular with Emil.
We made a network of knowledge through friendship, which is something that is really being needed in the region, because we are entering in a political cycle where everybody's turning apart. So I think in that sense, this program is an advancement to make these ties, and to get people together with the same interest.
I was one of the first women in the first group of Humphreys who joined this program, the SPURS program, from Iraq to the United States. I was actually a leader of one of the projects. It's about reconstruction of Iraq.
The SPURS fellows around the world, we could be like a magnet there to attract other fellows and could solve any kind of problem. You just have to have talent, spirit, and good attitude.
This is a free food table, and this is one of the most important things in SPURS.
Really? No, it was only one day a week when I was here, when we had a seminar.
The brown bag.
Yeah. No, it was not brown bag. And that was a very, very nice lunch.
Well, in our time we were poor. We only had brown bag. Yeah, well, this is just leftovers from other people's meetings, but whenever anyone sees anything on these tables, they run back there and say, free food, and everyone comes running. It's good.
Here at MIT in the US, we are not Indian and Pakistanis, we are Asians. Building 9, we were the first batch when we shifted to this one. For the first 2-3 days, we were in another building. I think that was building 10. It was being in the process of renovation. We started classes as this.
I joined SPURS and went on to do my master's at MIT. This has helped me tremendously in my professional life, but also on a personal level.
I remember I had a colleague from Bhutan, and we used to go around looking for different seminars. I brought my kids with me during my Humphrey year, so I had 2 sons with me, and my mother came along to give me a help. But it was like an adventure for all of us.
When I came to the SPURS, I already had 2 kids. We were in a low rise at Westgate, so we had a lot of exchange with the other families. So Westgate, and I was really looking at it from the Hyatt yesterday, is a very nice, warm, and interesting memory. The other is the old SPURS office under the dome. That's where we were. So we felt so much part of MIT because we were right under the library and the dome.
Charles River, and we used to live just across the river. You can see some of the settlements on this side, just along the banks of the river. I'm not too sure about these buildings. I do remember that when the bookshop would come out also with big sales. But it used to be fantastic. Even in -20, our boys would prefer to walk and go running. The Prudential Tower was one of the tallest buildings at that time. Our favorite used to be pizzas on Sundays, and go down, sometimes walk down, sometimes take the train. And we started making pizza subsequently at our own house, trained by one of our other colleagues in the SPURS program. I think Bono was his name.
I remember Bono, he was Italian.
Yeah, right.
And his wife and my wife delivered babies here almost the same day.
Exactly.
In the city hospital, and my daughter is now here with me in Boston.
There were 3 were born here.
Yeah,
Bono, you, and Nelson Amaro.
Yeah, that's right. So it was interesting time.
It was my first time here. It was pretty cold. I remember, that I did suffer. I mean, I never heard what black ice was. When you're going biking, and suddenly the ground freezes over. So it happens here in Boston where you have water, but then because the wind is so cold, it becomes clear ice. So you're biking, and suddenly you lose all traction, and you just crash.
Charles River with my office mate, and I think we could go boating at one point, and I think it was also it was fun, and I was doing it for the first time.
I did get my pilot's license here because MIT has an Aero Astro, and basically you could learn how to fly. So MIT has this this incredible diversity. Just down here, you can learn how to make glass. You can learn how to make glass items, blow glass. You could learn how to do drones, geomap, and that's just standing in one place in this building. Can you imagine a whole campus of knowledge?
So a couple of things just to kind of talk about, what are some of our challenges and things that we're looking at. And one of the exercises we have been doing including with that SPURS and the other labs, is to do this kind of strategic vision, strategic thinking about where we're heading. You know, what does SPURS would look like 50 years from now, or 20 years from now, or 10 years from now?
I'm wondering about that process of your learning how to engage in a process which actually reflected practice. So, in that very moment, the kind of reflection in practice was being taught.
At the Rockefeller Archive Center, my research team and I look at the history of 20th century American philanthropy.
You have it all in your head, right? Kind of, we are not bridging the knowing-doing yet.
So what I want to talk about is data scarcity in the era of big data.
Are you always wrong when you make a mistake?
The significance of surprise and mistake was that it leads to the question, what was I thinking? Right? Because what we thought was going to happen didn't happen. You can call it a mistake, you can call it an error, you can call it a surprise. What was important for reflection and action was it led to rethinking.
I think it's contextual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
it is what I could consider a mistake might not be in another setting, in another development, in another country. Maybe it's culture, maybe it's less empathy, or it has crossed the boundary of anthropology.
So MIT is an exceptional environment of intellectual quality and knowledge. I think is the best in the world.
Most of the fellows have done remarkably well. As you know from the list of our alumni, I mean, one person is the chief executive of the World Bank. She was nominated for the post of the Secretary General. And then we have another alumni who is now in Jordan, who is the Prime Minister of Jordan. There are other alumni who is ambassador, current ambassador from Haiti to United States. If we look at the list of names of people, they are all placed in very high-level positions.
We believe that alumni need to activate their knowledge, activate the capabilities that exist. Can we infuse entrepreneurship into the SPURS Fellow by working together, solving problems together, and along the years, one after the other, we might be able to take this collective learning and start showing it to the world that this program is special. This is not an urban studies program. This is not another urban design problem. This is a very special focused program that is second to none in the world.
Important aspect of the SPURS program I want you to consider is the funding of the program. In the past, we had fellows supported by either the Humphrey program, which is funded by the United States State Department, or in some cases by universities or some national governments. To rely on funding from the US State Department at a time of political turbulence is not wise. I just don't want to be caught in the middle of that argument. We should have our own funds and still continue to work with the US State Department. So I do want to say that it's my hope that we can eventually put SPURS in a more stable financial footing by creating an endowment for the program. I'm really touched that you cared to attend it and spend your money and time to attend this 50th reunion. So I hope this visit will reinforce your good memories of MIT and that we'll see more of you in the future as we formalize this kind of a reunion.
I think it's extremely important that this energy that's incredibly encouraging all of us to cooperate will stay with us. So please, let's start to talk about alumni cooperation now and then follow.
The influence that SPURS has around the world goes far beyond that planet.
it is really global in influence and in scope. And I'm delighted, I'm grateful for that experience. And I'm so happy to see NIMFA.
I personally am very grateful for the opportunity of SPURS, so I will feel very good to be able to give back something to SPURS. So as President Kennedy famously said, ask not what MIT can do for you, ask what you can do for MIT. So let's do something for MIT.
You brought me to the place where we usually take our yearly picture, and this is where we have the graduation ceremony in this area. I remember those seconds of my life, and my wife joined me when she was pregnant with my daughter. So it's a great moment, you know, to remember this. Now it's almost 30 years ago when I was here first time.